My name is Arthur Jung. I'm a former member of the Catastrophic Phenomenon Task Force. This task force was created to research the tragic phenomenons that occurred within the Puerto Rico Trench. But what we had no way of knowing was that the events within the Puerto Rico Trench were only the beginning. 9 days after the events within the Puerto Rico Trench, another tragic event would occur. This would not only cause the submersion of 35% of the Japanese island, it would cascade down to a chain of events that would change the world forever. The unique sonar signature of the UOO would be discovered once more, but also near the Tamu Mastiff, another UOO would be recorded. From the data received from the multitude of oceanic research facilities, the new UOO would be found to be roughly double the size of the first one. Roughly 3 days after these tragic events, mankind would be shattered, shaken to the core of our fundamental existence of what we thought was possible. For what we thought was nothing more than mere science fiction became reality before our eyes. From the oceans themselves upon the western coast of America, as well as the eastern coast of China, two impossibly large creatures, the first kaiju in existence, would be seen making landfall. The mere emergence of these impossibly large beasts would flood the coastlines that they would make landfall upon, causing thousands of casualties in a matter of minutes. But that was not the most surprising thing. Nay, what was most surprising was how quickly the governments of the world would come together to destroy these terribly magnificent titans. Something, though, had driven these creatures to make landfall, and they were not aimlessly wandering. Many of us who were part of the task force believed that these creatures made landfall for a reason, that they had a destination in mind, that there was something inland that was calling to them. What would be observed within the few moments of peace after the destruction of these creatures was just how different they were from one another. The kaiju that made landfall upon the Chinese coast and that was destroyed before it made its way further inland would be given the code name Yong. The creature that was known as Kaiju Yong was said to have large plate-like scales that almost resembled that of an isopod. But underneath these plate-like scales was a largely reptilian form, with what seemed to be multiple ocular organs, though the largest on this particular creature seemed to be its main eye. Surrounding the larger structure of this ocular organ were rudimentary offshoots. It is believed that the compound eye structure within this particular kaiju allowed for a much more complex spectrum to be transposed from the ocular organ into the brain. But that would be as far as researching the kaiju would go before all hell broke loose. Our world was still reeling from all of the events and tragedies that had just occurred within a matter of weeks. And what would seem even more impossible than the existence of these incredibly gigantic creatures would be the ecological and zoological effects of their emergence. For even though we were able to kill the kaiju, the threat did not end there. These creatures, which size rivaled that of the tallest skyscrapers created by mankind, were so large that their bodies alone were an ecosystem that housed a variety and vast diversity of creatures and parasites. And this ecosystem did not just exist upon the surface of these impossibly large creatures. No, they had a biome all their own inside their bodies. And this was something that we did not account for. Simply by making landfall, New, invasive, and dangerous species that emerged from the ocean and adapted through the kaiju making landfall would change the very landscape of our world. And even more so were the diseases and infections that would come with these magnificently large titans, which were now nothing more than rotting corpses upon the coast that they were destroyed upon. Mankind was not equipped for this. We've made movies, we've made fantasies, and we have romanticized the idea of these monstrous creatures. But we had no idea about the reality of the impact of their existence. Be it through hubris or ignorance, it is due to this that mankind has fallen. But I gotta get some sleep. The infected are out because it's night, but it'll be morning soon, and we need to forage and gather supplies. We need to make sure that our shelter stays safe. This is Arthur Jung, signing off.